welcome to AAFCA's Best of 2020 recap, Best Black Actors in Television. Today we'll be recapping our picks from the best performances by Black actors in TV in 2020 with a group of our AAFCA critics led by our fearless leader, Gil Robertson, the president of AAFCA. Gil, take it away.
Thanks, Sharronda. In a year where Black film and TV has excelled, we wanted to celebrate the achievements we have had in 2020 on television. Our critics will discuss AAFCA's top 5 picks of the best Black actors in TV, offering their insights and thoughts on their performance. Let me first introduce our panel. KB in Houston, Kathia Woods in Philadelphia, Ronda Racha Penrice in Atlanta, and Sharronda Williams in Atlanta. Take it away, ladies.
So for our first actor, we'll discuss Nicholas Pinnock, who plays Aaron Wallace, a prisoner that becomes a lawyer and fights to overturn his life sentence for a crime he did not commit in For Life. And KB, we'll start with you.
So I think that For Life is just a unique show. I think that Nicholas is so endearing in this particular role. You know, I think it is very hard to play someone who is wrongly convicted of a crime. As we see kind of in this season, he is home and trying to navigate life, with his wife and his daughter and his new grandson, and also trying to just kind of figure out where his life is going to go from a professional standpoint, and knowing that he wants to continue his work in the judicial system and, kind of see other inmates helped and other people in these kind of similar situations. So for me, I think Nicholas does a really great job of portraying kind of all of the layers of Aaron. From being vulnerable, from being upset to being hurt, to figuring out what this new normal looks like for him, to going after the judicial system, toe to toe, bit by bit with everyone. So I enjoy Nicholas's performance for sure.
I like this whole trajectory. I'm not like, sometimes with 50 Cent, the show can be a mess. But this one, I feel like we're getting to see a different type of character. And we always talk about when a character is in prison and what they're dealing with, we never get to see the other side, how they're readjusting. I mean, not just from a familial point of view, but the technology, like time stood still for this man while he was in prison. Like he knew these things were existing, but he gets to use these things freely. And I'm so interested in how that conversation goes this year. So no, this is definitely a unique and different portrayal.
And let's be reminded that it's inspired by the true story of Isaac Wright Jr. So Nicholas Pinnock does have the benefit of being able to confer with him on some of the choices. Of course, we have seen, British actors put in awesome American performances, and Nicholas Pinnock is definitely on that list. I have championed Aaron prior to it even airing, and I'm just delighted to see that Nicholas Pinnock is getting some of the praise that he is warranted from the first time he showed up on the screen in this role.
Yeah, for Nicholas, I love the gentleness that he brings to Aaron, right? When we think of a prison drama, we think of these hard men with these, these macho attitudes and violence. And I love that what Nicholas brings to this character is he brings someone that is very in touch with his own feelings, but the feelings of others. To be able to see a Black man on television be able to effectively communicate and still try to lead his family the best way that he can, even though he's in prison. I just love what Nicholas actually brings to this character, but brings to the show as a whole. I think that what he's doing, which is something that I think more people should talk about, is about how he has this character that is really dispelling the stereotypes of Black men, especially when we get into this world of talking about Black men within the prison system. So I really hope that Nicholas gets the shine that he so rightfully so deserves, and that more people continue to watch For Life and continue this conversation about something that's so important in the country right now. So for our second actor, we'll be discussing Jonathan Majors, who plays Atticus Freeman, who travels across the U.S. in the 1950s in search of his missing father in Lovecraft Country. And Kathia, we're going to start with you on this.
As we should. I am the chairman, the president, the start of the Jonathan Majors fan club. Been on board. Welcome, everyone. He is everything. He is so multi-talented. And I love that we get to see him in this. You know what I mean? He's capable of so many different things. And now he's like front and center. Do you know what I mean? Normally, he's the guy that was in all these movies that you watched and you didn't know his name. And now when you go back to it, you're like, oh my God, that was him. He was in that movie. He played this drug dealer or this whatever. But in Lovecraft County, we get to see him really play a different type of man. And I love, again, we're examining father-son relationships. We're examining relationships between men and women, his relationship about his own existence. He's kind of like a nerdy buff guy because, you know, he's bringing the guns in this, you know, but then he puts on the glasses. I love everything about Jonathan Majors. I cannot say enough things. I could be here for days, but we're not going to do that. But this is a really great performance, and give him his flowers. Do it. Give it to him.
Well, I mean, Jonathan Majors, for anyone who saw The Last Black Man in San Francisco, you are just not surprised, because when he did that play, it was no question about the bounds of his talent and his range. And through Tick, as I like to call Atticus, Tick, he's used every bit of training and gift and talent he's been given, because we've seen him go through every range of emotions. At one moment in Lovecraft, you love him, and then you can't stand him. Like, he just puts you on so much of a roller coaster. So many times, you know, you feel for him, you want to protect him, and then you're like, he's out of line. It's just it's just really extraordinary that one actor can do so much and just have you invested in his every move. And you just, when he did the scene with his mom, seeing his mom again, you wanted to go and hug him through the TV. There's just no words. He's extraordinary and totally deserving. I hate that it had to end, but I think this is the end of the road for Tick. So, but it's not the end of the road for Jonathan Majors. We will see him for many, many years to come.
I'm so happy about his performance in Lovecraft, because if it took this beautiful Black man being a part of this sci-fi show that includes Black people into the narrative, I love that now this has opened up people seeing his previous work with White Boy Rick, with White Boy Rick, Last Black Man in San Francisco, Jungle Land. There's so many other things that Jonathan has been doing, even doing television as well. And from his, I love that with his performances, that just like Nicholas, he gets to show male vulnerability as a Black man. And also to show Black love. And I just think that he was able to portray so many different facets of a Black man in this series, and even comparable to the Five Bloods, where we explore and acknowledge the relationship between a Black father and a son, right? And I love that everyone's been able to see all that we've known for the past year or two of what he's actually been capable of. And I can't wait to see where he begins, you know, to continue his journey after 2020.
Shout out to Texas. Of course, you know, we always support each other. However, you know, Tick is complicated 98% of the time. He was on my nerves, you know, I'm not gonna lie. But for my full feelings, you can watch the recap show Sharronda and I did, but I will say Jonathan Majors' performance as Tick, you know, he's giving you everything layered. We see him explore love for the first time while, you know, a soldier. We see him explore trauma. We see him get into magic. We see him, you know, navigate this very complex relationship with his father and his uncle, or Uncle Daddy, because we're still not sure who the actual father is. But either way, We get to see it all, and we get to see him, you know, kind of finally, to Rhonda's point, you definitely wanted to give him a hug when he got to reunite with his mother. So it's just, I mean, so many layers that Jonathan brought to the performance of Tick. I think Tick is a very complicated character to play. So, you know, I am almost positive that Jonathan was probably sitting in his trailer, just trying to navigate his own feelings, because I definitely feel like Tick can bring up a lot of things in people. I feel like this show brings up a lot of things in people, just like what Letty did for Journey. But you know, Jonathan is an extraordinary talent. There is nothing but great things coming his way. I mean, heck, we finna see him in a Marvel film soon, so absolutely. But yeah, there's nothing like this portrayal of Tick. And I will say that Jonathan's performance of Tick will go down as one of the best performances for sure, hands down, of a Black man navigating the complexities in this sci-fi fantasy world, but also dealing with racism and also dealing with love and family and so much more. So yes, shout out to Jonathan Majors, true talent.
For our next actor, we'll be discussing Papa Ejidu, who plays Kwame, a man who navigates the new landscape of dating and relationships as they make the distinction between liberation and exploitation in I May Destroy You. And Rhonda, we'll start with you.
Kwame, this character of Kwame is, I mean, I hate to sound like cliches, but just so layered. And I think that it's a range of emotions that we see from someone who is navigating their queer status in the 21st century with I mean, it's like a Tinder app or a Grinder is, but we just haven't seen a portrayal like this. And I know that when I interviewed Papa, he talked about not being able to see these kinds of characters on TV in the UK, and it was interesting to hear him talk, because he was saying, you know, they're like the portrayals, you have to be like a thug, basically, you know, criminal. And I'm like, yeah, they do that in the US too. So it was just, and he was a fitness trainer. He is, I mean, I just can't even qualify all the different emotions, especially with him acting, with Kwame responding to Arabella's sexual assault, and even putting in our head the idea that yes, gay men are assaulted too, and where do they go? Where do they seek help? And you see so much vulnerability in that. And then, you know, but also flipping the script and questioning some of his actions as well. What I just love about I May Destroy You is that there is no easy slot for any one character to fit into. And it is just so real. And you have to examine the choices that are made with the background that you have and the circumstance of the moment. And Papa as Kwame is definitely doing that.
I 100% agree with Rhonda. I feel like, you know, Papa's character as Kwame definitely makes you question a lot of things about yourself. Like, I feel like Kwame's journey just opens up a lot of floodgates for individuals as well, dealing and navigating life in a lot of different ways. And so regardless of how anyone identifies sexually, I feel like Kwame is so relatable. And I think that is a testament to Papa's performance, and also to Michaela's writing. Like, I just feel like the layering and the marriage of both are really what kind of give you everything you need from Kwame. So I definitely feel like, you know, Kwame is not exempt from you being mad at him in the series, which I appreciate. Like, you know, there are often times where you're upset with Kwame and the choices that he's making, but you also empathize with him in a lot of the scenarios and situations that happen to him. And you also, you know, are rooting for Kwame in a lot of ways. And so, you know, there's a level of Black freedom that we don't get to often see when it comes to Black gay males. And Kwame really exhibits that. And it's a different type of Black freedom in the sense that Kwame owns his power a lot of the time. And that's what we need to be seeing in art forms, you know, like he is not someone who is very firm in who he is. He's someone who knows who he is. He knows what he likes. He knows a lot of different things. And so I like being able to see that kind of reflection portrayed on screen. And I think Papa does a great job of getting that across for sure.
I think it's revolutionary. And sadly to say again that we didn't have this, this is not a norm to have a Black man stand firm in his sexuality. You know, the fact that he's very open, like I like hooking up, swipe left, swipe right. You know what I mean? We see that from straight men get celebrated. I love the fact that he owns up to the fact that it is a difficult conversation to have with his family about who he is because of the, you know, the belief system and what it means to be a man in the Black community. Like he understands that, but at the same token, he's like, I'm not going to change who I am in order to appease that. And as free and as open as he is about who he is sexually, all of those things, you still see, as we spoke previously, how something bad can happen to someone. That again does not mean because he likes to hook up, because he's very free sexually, that it's okay to assault him. And as a man, not just a gay, it's still hard to process that. Like, who do I talk to about that? You know, they didn't take his complaint seriously. All of those things, like your heart breaks for him. You know what I mean? And we are tuned in because of the actor. Because it's hard. Like this can go really, you know, you guys know what I mean. This can go a little caricature if you don't have the right writers, you don't have the right people making sure that we let this breathe. And again, I think this is such an important storyline, and I'm so glad that we got it.
And also, I wanted to just add that Papa, through Kwame, communicates the danger, even now, you know, with the gay man in this present environment, even though it's not like what we've seen from the 1950s, 1960s, where you had to sneak around and you can be free, but there's still an element of danger in reaching out and trying to connect, however, you know, whatever relationship you want to have. And that really like shines through his character, Kwame, that it's still dangerous out here.
I want to go to the next actor that we'll be discussing, Sterling K. Brown, who plays Randall Pearson in an emotional story about a unique set of triplets and their struggles and their wonderful parents, and This Is Us. And I will kick this off because when I say that Sterling K. Brown carries this entire show on his back day in and day out, especially in the season premiere for this season, Sterling is he's just so fantastic. It's almost as if there's nothing that Sterling K. Brown can't do. But I love that we get to see this really quirky yet emotional side. We get to see this nerdy Black man who has this beautiful family, who is a politician, who is a son, you know, who has all these unique characteristics, but somehow how Sterling portrays his character of Randall still makes you feel like he's so relatable to everyone that you possibly know. And I think that I've been excited to see his journey even outside of This Is Us, but most specifically, I feel as though when I see the most range and intensity, especially as he delves into the mental health issues that his character Randall does experience on the show, I think that has been such a joy to see. His performances have sparked so many necessary conversations, especially within the Black community. And I just think that he's absolutely fantastic. And St. Louis, stand up. All right, I'm done. I promise.
Well, yes, Sterling K. Brown Randall. You know, I think that there is something that Sterling brings to this role that is so unique and so beautiful. You know, it's hard being the only Black person in this white family, period. Like, I mean, it's hard to be one of, you know, these Black, well, the only Black triplet in this scenario. And so I just feel like there's something that Sterling gets across that many of us as Black people always experience, and that's how to live in these white spaces. You know, obviously, Randall's story is a little bit different and it's unique because he does have white parents, he has white siblings in that regard, but we all as Black people know how to code switch. We know how to navigate certain experiences, and I think that Sterling brilliantly portrays that on screen. I think the additional layers with the mental health issues that, you know, Randall's experiencing now is something that is, I think, extraordinary for Sterling as an actor to be able to show his additional range. You know, I love everything when it comes to the Pearsons. I only think of two Pearsons when I think of love. I mean, you know, I'm not, no shade to the parents, but I am mostly thinking about Beth and Randall. You know, I'm thinking about Black love. I'm thinking about their love story and all of the complications and the issues that arise for them. I love seeing him as a father in this role. You know, I love seeing him as a partner, even when 98% of the time I am mad at him as a partner and how he's treating Beth, because you have a gem. Don't be crazy. So, you know, like there are just a lot of things that Sterling brings to the performance that I absolutely adore. So yeah, I love it. You know, the Pearsons have my heart for sure.
I love Sterling K. Brown since Army Wives. You know what I mean? I just remember when This Is Us came out, I was like, it's like Army Wives, you know what I mean? But obviously it's a way better show. I love what's happening with Randall's character this season. I love the fact that he's leaning into his Blackness and he's not allowing his siblings to be for him to be the national spokesperson for Black people. Like he's holding them accountable. How do you have a Black brother and not think about race or think about how he had to navigate the world or think about with everything that's going on, how this is affecting him, your Black nieces, the whole nine, like how are you like blind like this, you know? I do feel like this is where his father not being alive, I feel like out of all the Pearsons, his father is the one that tried to understand that more than anybody, and he doesn't have his dad to advocate for him, to pull the other ones out of the fog. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, Mandy's dealing with her own issues, you know what I mean? I'm still trying to understand how she ended up with Miguel, but maybe we'll get that clear once and for all. But it's just really, really crazy. And this is the caveat. In real life, he's Afro-Latino, the guy that plays Miguel. Do you know what I mean? That's a whole nother show, but I'm like, I just am glad that he's putting boundaries. Everybody, I'm figuring out me and mines this season. Y'all go to therapy, work out your own ish. I'm not your counselor. I'm not your Black savior anymore. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And I also believe him going to therapy will make him a better partner for Beth. All those things that we cringe at, they were like, get it together because your wife is everything. It will help, I think, their communication. But I'm just glad that he's like, I'm doing me this season.
I can keep it short. The longer that This Is Us goes, it just shows you that of their core cast that they consider the stars, there is only one true star, and that is Sterling K. Brown. The other people, the more seasons that we have, the more one note they look, and the more range and incredible acting ability just oozes out of him and his supporting cast.
For our last actor, we'll discuss Daniel Ezra, who plays Spencer James, a star high school football player from South Central, who was recruited to play for the Beverly Hills High School and All-American. And KB, I don't know no other way but to start with you. This is your show.
This is my show. I love All American. It is a phenomenal show. You know, Spencer's been on a journey, and I cannot wait to see where that leads us, you know, this upcoming season. But Daniel gives us so many things with Spencer. You know, Spencer has gone through extreme loss, you know, grief, navigating this complex relationship with his dad, who is in and out, and then most recently has passed away, so permanently out. And so, you know, it's been just such a joy to watch Daniel in this role, because Spencer is just not only a regular high school student trying to navigate life, but there's also gang life. You know, his mom has sent him to Beverly High School. He's living with who we used to think potentially could have maybe been his dad also, but, you know, the man who is Taye Diggs' character, who has helped kind of, help him flourish at Beverly High School. I mean, there's just so many things happening. And on top of that, there's a lot of racism that he experiences, obviously, because there aren't very many Black students at Beverly High School. He's still trying to be a star on the football team. He goes through an injury. When I tell y'all, it's layered with all the drama that I love. And Daniel is giving me everything as Spencer. Now, a couple times I wanted to lay hands on Spencer for the way he was talking to his mama. And I was like, wait a minute now, what are we doing? Hold on. But Daniel even gave me that wonderfully and brilliantly as well. And shout out to Daniel, because honestly, I can never tell that he's actually British. Like on the show, he is really pulling off this American accent, because I truly was shocked when I found out, in an actual interview. I was like, oh, you're British? Oh, okay. But yeah, so shout out to Daniel, because he's given that work. And shout out to the whole cast and the writers and the creator, because if y'all not watching All American, you really need to be. It's a phenomenal show.
I agree. I love that we're getting a glimpse of what it's like to be a Black athlete in a predominantly white school, how they use you and try to manipulate you and just play you like a puppet. And you're supposed to be like, hey, but look, you get to be at this great campus and you get all of these things. Yes, the racism and, the classism is part of it, but who cares? Because you're here and you're winning. But again, I think it is astonishing to believe that he is British, because the accent doesn't break. That's so hard to do, to speak 360 degrees differently than what is natural to you. And he leans into it, and you do feel for him. And we forget he's a young man that's trying to figure out just how to be a young man. And he has all of this stuff. Do you know what I mean? And his parents are messy. Ooh, are his parents messy man? I mean, more secrets than God knows secrets. So at some point you want to be like, okay, whose parent? And can we just all have an episode about truth? But I do love this journey that they're on. And it's sinful that more people aren't watching the show. I discovered it binge watching it with my daughter on another channel, not the channel that I should have been watching on. And then I was like, oh, snap, it's on this. So I think that's why this performance is falling under the radar, because the CW is not doing a good enough job of promoting it. They promote the heck out of Riverdale, but they're not promoting it under the show, which speaks to young Black people. Think about all the shows we watched when we were kids. And maybe that wasn't our life, but there was a character on there that we were, okay, in this case, it's Black people, let's lean in. And I do believe they need to do a better job and getting these cast members in front of young Black people so that they know we're not on this channel. We're glad you found us on here, but tune in live with us come January.
Well, I've been on the All American train since the beginning. So, even when it was finding its voice, and Nkechi Okaro, Carol has come in and just really, really anchored this show. And there is not enough words, as KB alluded to, that to describe what Daniel Ezra pulls off every single episode. He is like wise beyond his years, but yet definitely able to, not just partake in different aspects of the teenage life, but to shed light on the disparities between the Beverly Hills crowd and the South Central crowd. Although, in LA, people have bones about that area being South Central, but but the longtime people. But what the things that they show are actually places that I live near in Los Angeles. So I'm always glad to see that. But Daniel Ezra, he is just a chameleon, and that is like, he's one person with Billy, he's one person with his father, he's one person with his mom. He is just able to just show just different levels of his ability, each character. And maybe that is because he is British, and to be Spencer at all, he has to be a completely different person. One of the things that was interesting, I interviewed him here in Atlanta, and I asked him what Black representation on television means to someone who grew up in the UK, And he talked about how much of a comfort watching The Fresh Prince was for him, and how he hopes in some small way that All American is that. And I am so glad that the CW did put this show on Netflix so that other people could see it. And I am excited about what's happening going forward.
KB, Kathia, Ronda, and Sharronda, thank you so much for your thoughtfulness and your insight today. We appreciate you. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film critics, thank you for watching another episode of our year in review. Have a good day.